Well, welcome everyone. My name is Dr. Joshua Burka. I am the Medical Director for the Academy for Bioenergetics. I'd like to thank you all for being on the call tonight. I'm going to give you a brief overview over the next 30 minutes or so on Bemer technology, and then we'll have some time afterwards where you can type in your questions, and we'll facilitate reading those questions, and I'll do my best to answer them. So it's interesting, when we look at Bemer technology, despite all of our technology and medical advancements that we have now, we're still faced with both acute and chronic disease patterns that are rampant in our society today. And so there's never been a better time for a therapeutic modality like Bemer that is both safe and highly effective to be used in both clinical and home healthcare settings. And we're going to talk about the basis of some of this technology today. And for all of you listening, make no mistake about it, you are on the forefront. You're on the horizon of a new understanding of medicine and wellness care. Not disease care, but wellness care. And this is an understanding that involves not just viewing health from a physical perspective, but a bioenergetic one as well. I want to bring up this disclaimer here. Bemer products are in no way a substitute for professional medical care. If you're using Bemer and you are having new symptoms, this is in no way, shape, or form a substitute for medical care. No medical claims are being made from the use of these products, and these statements have not been evaluated by the FDA or other government agencies and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure any medical conditions or diseases. Although we will talk about how Bemer is involved with making physiological shifts in the body, which can be very beneficial for health. And so please consult your own physician or healthcare provider if you have medical concerns. Bemer products are wellness and fitness systems. These are registered as a Class 1 medical device and in the process of being confirmed for Class 2 medical device. All information within this webinar is for educational purpose only. So with that being said, let's move on. So for those of you out here who know about Bemer, Bemer has become well known for its effect on improving microcirculation, enhancing oxygen throughout the body. Bemer is a biophysical treatment modality. This uses a pulsed electromagnetic field technology as a carrier signal for its waveform. And Bemer's unique and patented waveform provides an activation energy which delivers information to your body, to your cells. And this information positively impacts blood flow and perfusion to your tissues and cells. Bemer has been shown to enhance immune function, energy levels, which is known as ATP, adenosine triphosphate, protein synthesis, whether we're talking about collagen, connective tissue, building bone. And Bemer has been shown to help regulate the autonomic nervous system. And now with the newest advancements of Bemer and the latest technological advancements, Bemer has also been shown to support healthy sleep-wake cycles and detoxification. So if Bemer does all these things, the next question is how? And to answer this, information. Bemer is delivering information to the body, which it's responding to. And so I want to explore this concept a little deeper of information medicine as it relates to Bemer. And to understand this, we have to understand what a waveform is, how this information is being delivered. So electromagnetic waves are really key to understanding how Bemer works. While many of us own and use cell phones and computers to stay connected for email, surfing the web, I would bet very few of you actually understand how this system works. How is my voice and these slides getting to your eyes and ears right now? My voice and the information is being modulated through carrier waves to your screen, to your earpiece or your microphone or your speaker, and you're hearing me. And so as we look at various waveforms, we can look at all waves that you can see on the top here are constructed using sinusoidal or sinus waves. And as you overlay sinus waves one over another, they can transform and take shape by what's known as superposition and are seen as waveforms such as trapezoid, triangle, sawtooth, or more complex exponential waves like the Bemer signal. And for this webinar, it's important to just focus on the Bemer signal because it is by far the most advanced waveform available on the market today. So each pulse wave is characterized by a frequency, intensity, and amplitude. Frequency is how often a wave occurs over time. Intensity or flux density is measured in Tesla or Gauss, or as we say with Bemer, microtesla, because it's such a low intensity. And the amplitude relates to the changes between the peaks and valleys, which are timely variations. So there's other PMF and other devices out there that operate with much higher flux densities. However, remember the geomagnetic field of the Earth is only about 50 microtesla. And so the body responds best to intensities within that range, under 150 microtesla. The pulse is what causes the effectiveness. So when we look at this example here, the advantage of the Bemer pulse itself, the various waveforms that I talked about, the sinusoidal, the trapezoid, the triangle, the sawtooth, these are more simplistic waveforms. And their pulses only reach a certain segment of cell frequencies. As you look on the right side here, you can see that the broad range of the Bemer's wave pattern. And this patented wave pattern reaches trillions of cells in the body. As I stated a couple slides ago, the simplest waveform is a sinusoidal wave. And if you overlay these frequencies and different flux or amplitudes, other impulses are created until you get the proprietary patented waveform of the Bemer signal. The Bemer signal is one of a kind. It consists of a series of half-wave shape, sine-like intensity variations, beginning very low with intensity initially, and then increasing slowly, and then dropping down again. These are known as the timely variations. And timely variations have an effect on every single cell in the body. So these impulses are generated at frequencies of 30 and 10 times per second, or 30 hertz and 10 hertz respectively. Instead of using the simple waveforms, Bemer uses this complex signal that has the broadest frequency spectrum of all PMF devices or all information technology devices in the market today. So as you can see, the waveform does matter. Bemer's patented waveform is the most researched and scientifically studied application available today. And all devices that deliver information through electromagnetic fields are not created equal. First and foremost, because the type of the waveform that's used, again, it matters. And so it's the spectrum of frequencies and these timely variations of the field that interacts with our cells to give rise to desired physiological effects. And this technology has been the basis of Bemer signal since 1998. Bemer never rests on its laurels. Even from the inception of the initial waveform, they began to look at how can we improve this. And so the Generation 2, or the Bemer Plus, was introduced in 2006. This is the second generation Bemer device. In addition to the carrier frequency we talked about, Bemer then used a specifically engineered waveform that delivered high-intensity pulses every 20 seconds, and this is called the Bemer Plus signal, and is directly associated with enhanced vasomotion. And we'll talk a little bit about vasomotion here in a short time. But as you can see, looking at this example, this is level 3. It is pulsing at level 3, and so level 3 would be 10.5 microtesla without the plus signal, and then it ramps up every 20 seconds to a high-level plus, or a high-level pulse, to a 10, which is 35 microtesla. The waveform is still used today, the original waveform in the original Bemer, as the second generation as well as this third generation. And so what's the difference between the initial technology versus the technology of today? And the answer is simple. The newest Bemer, the Bemer Classic and the Bemer Pro Generation 3, has a considerable longer lasting effect than its predecessors. You can see here in the dark generation, the first generation, 1 to 4 hours of effect. Second generation with the plus signal, up to 4 to 6 hour effect, and an amazing 12 to 18 hour effect with the new Bemer. And this integrates the waveforms of both of its predecessors, adding the lower frequency of 10 hertz. So it uses 30 hertz and 10 hertz to enhance microcirculation systemically by stimulating both the large and small caliber microcirculatory vessels. And so this is exactly how Bemer works. Bemer signal acts directly on the cardiovascular system. And this system, the cardiovascular system or the circulatory system, is comprised of vessels that contain the liquid milieu. That's the essence of all of life that we know it. This is your blood supply. This is how nutrients are delivered to your tissues and the waste products are moved away. When people think of the cardiovascular system, a lot of people think of the heart, and the heart is the pump. And this is not the whole story. About 8,000 to 15,000 liters of blood a day circulates through the body. And I can tell you that the heart is not acting as a pump alone. There are pressure gradients, almost like a hydraulic system that is created all the way to the tips of your fingers and toes. And these vessels are very much involved with how blood and lymph circulates throughout your body. About 3/4 of the blood vessels in your body are a part of the smallest vessels in your body, which are called the microcirculation or microcirculatory system. 3/4, 74%. I've simply put, microcirculation makes up the majority of your circulatory system. It describes the small vessels, some as thin as even a hair. And these are what are embedded into your organs, into your tissues, into your cells, feeding nutrients, moving away waste products. It's involved in blood flow and tissue perfusion, blood pressure, tissue fluid or swelling or edema is also associated, body temperature, and microcirculation even has an important role in inflammation. So simply put, microcirculation is vital for transporting molecules that are necessary for cell signaling and proper function throughout the body, such as hormones, proteins, enzymes, cofactors, including both vitamins and minerals. I said initially that Bemer is best known for its positive effects on the vascular system, on the microcirculatory system. We're going to see how that has come to play, or how it has come to be. The effect of the Bemer signal on physiological regulatory mechanisms of the body and the microcirculatory system has led to truly remarkable discoveries, which are still ongoing. More and more is being discovered about how this information or how information technology communicates not just to the vasculature, but to every cell in your body, all the way down to the level of the DNA. This is an image of Dr. Rainier Klopp from the Institute for Microcirculation in Berlin, Germany. Dr. Klopp was commissioned originally by the International Society of Geriatrics, and he was commissioned to find a non-invasive, non-drug alternative to assist geriatrics with chronic conditions, to reduce the use of medications, and of course to save money. Our healthcare is a $1 trillion a year industry. And with the elections coming up, make no mistake about it, this is a big topic on the table. How are we going to deal with this healthcare, or I should say disease care system in our country and internationally? It's not just associated with the U.S. anymore. Anyway, Dr. Klopp examined 12 different therapies but found none compared with the results obtained with the Bemer. And his findings here look at 28% improved vasomotion, which I said we're going to talk a little bit more about vasomotion. 30% more capillary vessels perfused, so more blood perfusion using Bemer. Over 30% improved venous drainage. That means more waste products are being able to cleared from the tissue. And greater than 29% more oxygenation of tissue. More oxygen to the tissue equals more energy. Oxygen is used to produce ATP, adenosine triphosphate. That's the energy currency that you use to live, breathe, and exist at hopefully an optimal level of function. The Bemer has a unique field distribution that enables this device to affect multiple cellular processes simultaneously. Very different than just putting a small applicator just over one area. Bemer, you can see here, covers the vast majority of the physical structure of the human body. And it has a profound effect on microcirculation. In fact, in Europe, Bemer is a vascular therapy. It's a billable treatment covered by insurance. And so why is Bemer so effective? We're going to talk about this, and now we're going to chat a little bit about vasomotion, or vasomotion, because one of the main mechanisms of the action of Bemer is directly associated with vasomotor function. Vasomotion is autorhythmical pulsations which occur within both the small and larger caliber vessels, as well as the venules, or the veins, and this is controlled by both the nervous system and mediated biochemically, neurohormonally, through nitric oxide. And nitric oxide is well known as a potent vasodilator. Healthy individuals exhibit these vasomotor oscillations anywhere between 2 to 3 times a minute or more for higher-end athletes within the smaller caliber vessels, or venules and arterioles. And these vessels are responsive to the Bemer signal at 30 hertz. That's the frequency. And this is within the therapeutic window, what was found between 28 and 34 hertz before responsiveness. Yet the vasomotor oscillations within the larger caliber vessels oscillate between 8 and 14 hertz, and therefore 10 hertz was chosen, 10 and 30 hertz, to control both of these. And 10 hertz is also used for the now Bemer sleep program, which we'll also talk about here shortly. So looking more at vasomotion, if you want to roughly understand the anatomy of microcirculation, this is an example here. You have arteries on the left side, venules on the right side, blood would be moving left to right, and the capillaries are in the center. But we're more concerned with this region right here, because this is where the vasomotor function is most apparent. Looking at this directly, you can see how the blood moves in through the vessel from the left to the right. And when the vessels are stimulated by the Bemer pulse, the larger caliber vessels are stimulated every 40 seconds and the smaller every 80 seconds. So around 120-second pattern. And to be more exact here, there's a little break in between. Not very too important to get too much into detail here, but these frequency changes shift from 10 hertz to 30 hertz in this time frame. And this is how Bemer effectively stimulates vasomotion and therefore enhances microcirculation. Again, 10 hertz and 30 hertz are just not random frequencies. I have questions a lot. Well, why can't we change the frequency with Bemer? You don't want to change the frequency with Bemer because this has been well researched investigatively to determine what frequencies are within the therapeutic windows to affect these small vessels. So the nerval effect, you can see here on the heavy caliber vessels at 10 hertz, which is acting directly on the nervous system, and on 30 hertz affecting the nitric oxide or vasodilatory perfusion rates of the blood. Vasomotion is the way in which the body controls and regulates the distribution of blood throughout the body, and this influences pressure gradients, hydrostatic pressure gradients, which facilitate filtration and absorption of nutrients. When blood slows down as it moves through the microcirculation, oxygen is delivered, carbon dioxide is absorbed, nutrients are released, and waste products are absorbed to be removed through the venous system out of the body and detoxified. For carbon dioxide, breathed out through the lungs, and for the rest of the waste products, cleared through our detoxification systems of liver, kidney, skin, etc. So as you enhance vasomotion, pressure gradients of both arterial and venolic increases, drainage increases from the veins, distribution of the red blood cells increase, which is more oxygen to the tissue. And as you get more tissue nutrition and more tissue drainage, this also enhances immune function. And speaking of immune function, the Bemer has been shown to enhance immune function, but nothing enhances your immune system better than downtime, relaxation, resting. And so looking at the knowledge of circadian rhythms in the body and diurnal variations, our sleep-wake cycles, these are governed by rhythms of nature, and these play a vital role in maintaining homeostasis and health. And the crucial elements of microcirculation are differently distributed in the regeneration stages and active stages. You can see here, as we look at the active stage, the microcirculation or blood is more associated with perfusion or increased perfusion in the musculoskeletal system, the gastrointestinal, the brain and nervous system, and I can see I did write that twice, but we have more blood moving through our body in our active state and our brains versus when we are sleeping, because the regeneration state is the time when we want the blood to be inside of our liver, our kidneys, our GI system, to flush out these toxins that have accumulated throughout our day. As soon as you wake up, you begin accumulating toxins, both endogenously with inside and exogenously from outside. And so the sleeping phase or the regenerative stage is sometimes more important for a lot of chronically ill patients than even the waking state. Yet so many people have so many varying degrees of insomnia and sleep disturbances. Next to low energy, in my practice, I can tell you that sleeping disruptions are among some of the highest symptoms that walk into my office. And thank goodness for the Bemer Sleep Program. The Bemer Sleep Program is new in the Generation 3. It uses 10 hertz, a level 2, which equates to 7 microtesla, very, very low level. It's on for 2 hours when you fall asleep and 2 hours before waking. You can set this for a duration of time. On the classic system, it's either 6, 7, or 8 hours, or the Pro system, you can program it for whatever time frame you want to wake up at. The Bemer Sleep Program was it wasn't just noticed where people were sleeping better and feeling better when they woke up, but they did scientific evaluations. They looked at things like uric acid. They looked at things like pH. And you can see here with this pH value, in the control group, you can see how the pH value decreased with Bemer. And people said, well, this is in the urine, of course. So what this means is that you're clearing out acid from the body, which is exactly what you want to do. When you're moving, when you're active, when you're detoxifying, just everyday breathing and metabolic function creates acid in your body. Perfect example. Say you're walking, you're exercising, your muscles can get sore. This is lactic acid that builds up. And healthy microcirculation needs to be present for this lactic acid to be cleared out, oxygen being delivered to that tissue so it can regenerate. And this is one of the key manners in which Bemer is used as a regenerative therapy for not just athletes, but for people who are functioning well and who want to function better, and or acutely and or chronically ill people. So what is Bemer technology capable of? Reducing susceptibility to infection, enhancing immune function, which strengthens the body's physical defenses. When you bring more nutrients to your tissues, to your white blood cells, more oxygen, they function better. When you starve them of nutrients and oxygen, they move into a dysfunctional state. Better supply and detoxification of organs and tissues. Bemer also supports impaired healing processes, better performance and performance capacity, and enhances regeneration. Allows for shorter regeneration periods and lower risk of sports training injury. And if you're not an athlete, that doesn't mean that Bemer is not good for you. If you're working in a home, if you're working in an office, if you are doing a lot of mental work, this all creates the need for energy. These are energy or ATP-dependent processes. So everyone can benefit from more energy. I would hope you would agree. So a brief overview here. Bemer enhances ATP or energy production by 22%, increased perfusion rates by 26%, stimulating 2 types of vasomotion for using the 2 frequencies of 10 hertz and 30 hertz, and a long-lasting effect up to 18 hours. Many users now, instead of using it 2-3 times a day, may use a sleep program and once a day. So it's okay to use it multiple times, and we're going to talk more in future webinars here about applications and how these applications can be used. But to just finish off here, Bemer can be used to enhance health and performance, rehabilitation, and therapeutics. For rehabilitation, improving mobility. For wound care, injury recovery, geriatrics, slow healing time. Therapeutically, you can not just use Bemer alone, you can use it as an adjunctive modality with a wide field of applications because it has very few contraindications, virtually none, and it supports all other therapeutic modalities as well. For health and performance, athletics, prevention, rejuvenation, regeneration, and recovery. If you fit into any of these categories, Bemer has something for you. The newest Bemer systems are the Bemer Generation 3.0, has the Bemer Pro or the Bemer Classic. Both use the exact same technology, but the Professional series allows for multiple applications to occur simultaneously, versus with the Classic model, you can only use 2 of the same system simultaneously. So many people, even if they're using it for home health care, choose to use the Bemer Pro system because of its diversity. So I'm going to open up this for questions. If you have any questions, you can reach me during hotline hours between 9 and 11 a.m., Tuesdays and Thursdays, Wednesdays 5 to 6 p.m. Pacific time. Again, my name is Joshua Burka, Medical Director of the Academy for Bioenergetics, and I'm going to open up the phone here for some calls. If Anne, you would facilitate some of the questions for me.
Yes, good evening, Dr. Burka. Has the AMA approved the Bemer?
Has the AMA approved the Bemer? Is that my question? Or FDA?
It is.
AMA, American Medical Association doesn't approve anything. American Medical Association may be involved in what is approved for CPT codes and so on, but what actually is the approving or the governing body is the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration. Bemer is FDA registered as a Class 1 medical device and will be submitting before the end of this year, and we'll talk more about the current research that has been done in the United States as well as abroad. But the AMA is not an approving body for any medical device. It is the FDA. And so, like I said, it is approved as a Class 1, or registered as a Class 1 medical device, and we are seeking FDA approval for a Class 2 device, hopefully by early next quarter of 2013.
Is the Bemer approved by all insurance programs? If not, which?
Again, Bemer, to my knowledge, is not approved by any insurance programs right now. And even with a Class 2 FDA approval, that doesn't mean that insurance programs are going to approve reimbursement for this. Although there are some various technologies that use diathermy or electromagnetic fields which are approved by insurance agencies. At this point, I wouldn't foresee, even when the Bemer does get a Class 2 medical device approval by FDA, that, I mean, it could take months to years for this to occur. For example, I work a lot with laser therapy. It's only recently that low-level laser therapy has been approved for reimbursement and at a very low cost. So we're looking much farther into the future than we probably should at this point, looking for insurance reimbursements.
So is the Bemer billable for acupuncturists?
Again, we're talking about insurance reimbursements, and whether you're an acupuncturist, medical doctor, physician, whatever it might be, osteopath, there are not a CPT or a treatment code for the Bemer in the United States. However, this is not the case in Europe. It is approved as a vascular therapy and as a billable treatment.
What are your recommendations for treating fibromyalgia and sciatica?
So I'm going to be cautious about talking about treatment. I'm going to use the term application because the Bemer does not treat and or diagnose any disease, but based on what I just spoke of with enhancing microcirculation and supporting bioenergetics, which is ATP production and energy production, energy regulation, the Bemer actually works quite well for working with people with fibromyalgia. I use it in my practice often, including various nutraceuticals and dietary and lifestyle support modalities. But Bemer works quite well, and it works best using on a daily basis. Not so much on a clinical level where you come in and you do an application and they go out and, well, they may feel better. This is something that is an ongoing chronic type of condition that needs daily and or at least a few times a week application. And for my fibromyalgia patients, very important, stick with the basic plan. This is more of a question related to applications, which we will cover in a week or so, a couple weeks. But go slow. Start low and go slow. Follow the basic plan, starting on the low levels and work up to the higher levels. Don't just start on a high level, because a lot of these fibromyalgia patients are not just in pain, but they also have fatigue. And so pushing the body too hard, and if the gross detoxification systems, the liver, the bowel, the skin, are not functioning up to speed, then you can have some adverse side effects such as headaches or achiness or lethargy, foggy thinking, and so on. But Bemer is one of my favorite modalities or applications to use with my fibromyalgia patients.
Is it effective with arthritic problems?
Arthritis, I think I heard you say, Ann, correct?
Correct, yes.
Yes. So arthritic conditions, I mean, arthritis is arth meaning joint, itis meaning inflammation. So it's inflammation. And when I treat people with inflammation, whether it's in the joint, whether it is superficially on the skin, inflammation is mediated by many of the same physiological functions or pathological functions with chronic inflammation. And so osteodegeneration or arthritis is associated more so with chronic inflammation of the joints. And so when we look at inflammation, the Bemer works to help facilitate through inflammation. It's not like a COX-2 inhibitor or an NSAID that suppresses inflammation. It will actually bring blood supply to this tissue so it can help to, in essence, regenerate by bringing nutrients, by bringing oxygen, and taking waste products out. Inflammation, one of the primary byproducts of inflammation, is acid, hydrogen ions, increased metabolism, which damages the tissue. And overall, that's what we see when we look at MRIs or X-rays, is we see DJD, degenerative joint disease, bone on bone, lack of cartilage. And so this is also an excellent application to use with the Bemer. I use the full body mat or the B body, as well as the focal or local applicators, either the B spot or B-pad directly over the affected tissue. And that is for both osteoarthritis as well as rheumatoid.
Thank you. Does clothing impede the performance?
Can you repeat that, please?
Does clothing impede the performance?
Does clothing, oh, okay. Does clothing impede the performance or the absorption of the Bemer? No. And this is very good to bring up because Bemer, if you have a Gauss meter and you look at its ability to penetrate through a pillow or through your clothes or even through a top cover, many people will use a mattress cover and put the Bemer underneath it. That's exactly what I do on my bed when I'm sleeping is I have a cover over the top. And it does not affect the flux density or intensity virtually at all. Now this is very different if we're talking about photobiology or photochemistry with the B light. The B light, while it does use the same frequency or modulation of the patented Bemer waveform, it does have to be in contact or you have to have exposed skin to use it because it does not penetrate through clothing. So clothing does not matter when using the Bemer because it penetrates through the clothing, penetrates through the skin, penetrates through your body even. And if you're questioning this, you can take your B-scan, which is the scanning device on the back of your Pro model or your Classic model, and scan over the body, and you'll see that the field will pulse right through, with or without clothes on.
Does this increase or decrease frequency of urination?
Does the Bemer increase or decrease frequency of urination? Well, I always recommend when someone is using the Bemer is to start with a small glass of water, and not just basic water. I mean, I prefer earth water. I prefer water that comes from artesian wells, from aquifers, from springs. And why I do, because these are composed of, the water has the earth elements in them. Your magnesiums, your potassiums, your sodiums, all the elements that are used as cofactors for metabolic functions in the body. And so I actually will have patients drink a small glass of water, 4 to 6 ounces, and I will place a small amount of sea salt or minerals in the water. They drink that, they ingest it, it moves into their bloodstream, and then the Bemer moves the circulation on a systemic level. And I also can use the applicator to drive various nutrients, nutraceuticals, pharmaceuticals to the desired tissue. For instance, we talked about joints. If I'm trying to move blood supply into a joint to deliver nutrients, I will first start with the bee body and then use applicators directly over that focused tissue. And so by doing this, it can certainly increase urination. So I always recommend to stay well hydrated, not drinking a lot of water at once, but sipping water throughout the day. And this helps flush the body or has the body to deliver hydration water so then it can clear out waste products. So I wouldn't say that would increase the frequency of urination that much, but it certainly could, depending on how much you're eliminating.
If you don't have artisan water, do you suggest putting in a supplement like emergency type thing?
Yeah, I mean, not to name any brands or anything, but the particular one you just brought up, Emergency, is quite high in sugar, so I don't really tend to like that much. But I do supplement if I don't have access. I use a very specific sea salt. It has the highest level of any minerals on the planet in the Guinness Book of World Records. It's called Life Ocean Salt, and I just put a small, maybe 1 to 3 grams in the water. So you can add the supplement. You can take it orally and drink water with it. A complete mineral supplement is excellent for that. And I do this because these are charged particles. The Bemer signal interacts with charged particles. And so you can really ignite the motion of the blood or enhance the microcirculation even more by having these minerals within the bloodstream. So again, if you don't have it, you can certainly supplement. Not a necessity, but a recommendation on my end. I mean, you go ahead, Ann.
Does use of alcohol consumption deter the benefit of using the Bemer?
Well, sure. When we think about alcohol, alcohol is dehydrating. It's a toxin to the body, so therefore it's going to stimulate the liver to have to clear it. You would get better results if you weren't using alcohol, and I highly recommend not using it post-Bemer. But Bemer will actually help detoxify all types of toxins in the body, not just alcohol. So is it going to impair the effects? I wouldn't say it's going to impair the effects, but what it will do is if you're drinking alcohol, your liver has to detoxify it, and that takes energy. Detoxification is an energy-dependent process. So therefore, if you are using the Bemer and using alcohol, this is going to be more energy that's going to be diverted into detoxing the alcohol versus not. So I certainly don't recommend drinking alcohol with using the Bemer either before or after.
How and if the Bemer affects mental disorders?
Mental disorders. Are we talking about depression, anxiety, neurological disease? Is this what this is referring to, Anne? I didn't hear back first, so I'm gonna assume that we're talking. Yeah, I'm gonna assume that we're talking about neurologically based diseases based on neurotransmitters. We're talking about depression, anxiety. The Bemer has a very unique effect on modulating the autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system is split into two systems: parasympathetic, sympathetic. Sympathetic is go, fight, get out of there, be on guard. The parasympathetic nervous system is all about rest and digest, relax. Sleep mode is parasympathetic, and there needs to be a balance. Unfortunately, in our culture, we are constantly in a go-go-go state, which is a sympathetic dominant state. One of the manners in which microcirculation and vasomotion is affected is by the 10 and 30 hertz frequencies that are used by Bemer to help modulate the nervous system and therefore the microcirculatory system, the vasomotor function. So when we talk about brain disease or problems with the brain, don't think for 1 minute that depression and anxiety are only focused in the head. In fact, that's the furthest thing from the truth. In fact, these are greatly involved with your digestive system, your perception of how you're moving through the world, how you're smelling, tasting, hearing, experiencing, living. In fact, there's more neurotransmitters in your gut, gastrointestinal system, than there is in your brain in relationship to serotonin. So Bemer, I have seen really, really great things with Bemer with both anxiety as well as people with depression.
Going back to alcohol, is the same true for coffee?
Coffee also is a absolute toxin to the body in the sense that caffeine, early naturopathic doctors used to use something called the caffeine clearance test to see how well you could detoxify the coffee. And so coffee it's a diuretic. It is a toxin to the body. Diuretic meaning it tries to buffer it. The solution to pollution is dilution. It buffers the coffee, the acid, the tannins to try to clear it out of the body. And that's exactly what we don't want to do when we're using the Bemer. We want to put fluid into the body to enhance blood flow. So if you're a coffee drinker, go ahead and drink a little more water after the Bemer, after you do the application. But of course, the most optimal effect is going to be without caffeine. And you bring up coffee. Coffee now, it used to be one of the few sources of caffeine, and now we have these Red Bull, these energy drinks, and these shots. And so these are both associated with caffeine, high levels of stimulating the sympathetic nervous system. There's a reason why people do well off coffee. They feel more energized for a while. Blood sugar goes up, and it allows these individuals or us to move forward in this go-go-go state, maintaining, which in many cases is a dysfunctional state of sympathetic dominance, meaning go, 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 fight or flight. So again, I mean, if you're a coffee drinker, great. Make sure you're staying well hydrated throughout the day.
Thank you. Another question is, when can we expect to see webinars with some example applications?
I believe the application webinar is going to be, if you can remind me, Ann, I think it's either next week or at the end of the month. But it will be before the end of this month for sure. So definitely stay tuned. There will be a webinar coming up on the research and science behind Bemer technology, as well as an applications webinar. So stay tuned to that. And do we have time for one or two more questions?
There are many, many questions. I think we should stop for tonight.
Okay. Well, you can certainly send in the questions, and if you'll leave your name and an email address where you can contact me directly at the AFB, you can certainly write me those questions between the hours of the hotline, and I would be glad to get back with you. Until the next time, we will have a webinar coming up on the research and science as well as the applications. And thank you for having me tonight, and everyone have a good evening.